The Tesla Papers, the lost invention that could have changed the world. Prologue, the room at the New Yorker Hotel. January 8, 1943, New York City. The city was at war. Far across the Atlantic, Europe burned under Nazi fire. But inside room 3327 of the New Yorker Hotel, another kind of silence was unfolding. The kind that follows the death of a man who dreamed too far beyond his century. The bellboy who opened the door that morning found the old man lying still on the bed, his hands crossed neatly over his chest, his eyes half open as if gazing at something unseen. Nikola Tesla, the man who had once commanded lightning, was gone. He was 86 years old. No family, no fortune. Only 2 pigeons sat outside his window, cooing softly as if keeping vigil. Within hours, men in dark suits arrived. They said little, moved efficiently. They opened his trunks, his drawers, his desk. They photographed every page, every wire, every notebook. Then they carried it all away, dozens of boxes marked property of the Office of Alien Property. No one in the hotel was told why. No one knew what they had taken, and no one would ever see most of it again. Decades later, when portions of those seized papers were quietly declassified, a single word kept reappearing in the margins of Tesla's private notes, underlined twice, circled in red ink. Energy. Limitless. Everywhere. Chapter 1. The Boy Who Caught Lightning. In the summer of 1856, in the small village of Smiljan, within the Austrian Empire, today's Croatia, a thunderstorm split the sky open the night Nikola Tesla was born. His mother, Juka, was in labor when lightning struck the barn outside their home. The midwife crossed herself, whispering, "This will be a child of darkness." His mother replied softly, "No, of light." From that moment, Tesla's legend began. His father, Milutin Tesla, was a Serbian Orthodox priest, strict and eloquent. He wanted his son to join the clergy, but young Nikola was different, quiet, sensitive, and unnervingly brilliant. At 6, he built a small water wheel to spin endlessly from a nearby brook. At 9, he designed an engine powered by the movement of beetles. His imagination was his playground, and electricity, though invisible, was his companion. By adolescence, Tesla could perform complex calculus in his head, recite poetry from memory, and visualize machines in full detail before building them. He later called this ability visual thinking, a skill that allowed him to design inventions without drawing a single line. "I do not build," he would say, "I see." Chapter 2. Dreams of a Machine That Never Stops. In 1875, Tesla began studying electrical engineering at the Austrian Polytechnic in Graz. He devoured every book on magnetism and current known at the time. When his professor introduced a new invention, the Gramme dynamo, a generator that could also run as a motor, Tesla saw its flaw immediately. It uses commutators, wasting energy through sparks. "I will build a motor with no commutators, one that runs on alternating current." His professor laughed. "Such a thing is impossible. It would require perpetual motion." But Tesla never forgot that challenge. He would later spend years chasing that impossible motor, the first alternating current induction motor, a design that would power the modern world. After his father's death, Tesla suffered a nervous breakdown. He wandered through Europe, half-starved, sketching inventions on scraps of paper. By 1884, with only 4 cents in his pocket and a letter of recommendation, he sailed for America. the land of promise, of unlimited possibility. The letter was addressed to Thomas Edison. Chapter 3. Edison's Apprentice. New York was chaos, smoke, steel, and ambition. Tesla arrived with nothing but his mind, and soon found work under Edison, who at that time was America's electric messiah. Edison's system used direct current, strong but limited. Power could only travel short distances without losing strength. Tesla proposed a bold improvement, alternating current, energy that oscillated back and forth, allowing efficient transmission over miles. Edison rejected it immediately. "Alternating current is dangerous," he barked. "Stick to DC." Tesla pressed on. He redesigned Edison's dynamos, increasing their efficiency. Edison promised him $50,000 if he succeeded. He did. When he asked for payment, Edison laughed. "You don't understand our American humor." Tesla quit on the spot. He spent months digging ditches to survive. The man who would electrify the world, working with a shovel in the dirt. But the storm was only gathering.
Chapter 4. The War of Currents. In 1888, Tesla's breakthrough came. He demonstrated his AC induction motor at the American Institute of Electrical Engineers. The audience was stunned. A motor that needed no brushes or commutators, powered by alternating current, smooth and efficient. Industrialist George Westinghouse recognized the genius instantly. He offered Tesla a partnership, money, patents, and the chance to take on Edison's DC empire. Thus began the War of Currents, one of the fiercest technological battles in history. Edison launched a smear campaign, publicly electrocuting animals with AC to show its danger. He even arranged for the first electric chair to use AC, a dark publicity stunt. Tesla, calm and dignified, ignored the circus. He believed in the science, and by 1893, at the World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago, his system triumphed. The fair was illuminated by Tesla's AC power, bright, silent, magnificent. For the first time, America saw night turn to day at the flip of a switch. A year later, Westinghouse and Tesla won the contract to power Niagara Falls, a dream Tesla had carried since childhood. When the turbines roared to life in 1896, electricity flowed hundreds of miles to Buffalo, New York. It was the birth of the modern power grid. Chapter 5. The Man Who Spoke to Lightning. Tesla had conquered electricity, but he was never satisfied. He began experimenting with high-frequency currents, creating spectacular lightning arcs from his coils. Reporters called him the Wizard of Electricity. He called himself merely a servant of nature. In his laboratory on South Fifth Avenue, Tesla worked alone through the night. Witnesses saw blue fire dancing across his instruments, his hair standing on end, his eyes blazing. He could light bulbs wirelessly across the room, a feat scientists would not replicate for nearly a century. He spoke of a vision, wireless power for the entire world. No wires, no fuel, only the earth and the sky, conducting the energy nature already provides. He filed patents for radio transmission, years before Marconi's so-called invention. In 1943, the U.S. Supreme Court would finally acknowledge that Tesla, not Marconi, was the true father of radio. Chapter 6. Wardenclyffe, the Tower of Dreams. At the turn of the century, Tesla's ambition reached its peak. With funding from J.P. Morgan, he began construction of a massive transmission tower at Wardenclyffe on Long Island. It was to be the heart of his dream, a global wireless communication and energy system. He believed he could transmit power through the Earth itself. If you can imagine the Earth as a conductor, then distance ceases to exist, he said. But Morgan, ever pragmatic, asked one question: where do we put the meter? Tesla smiled. There will be no meter. Power will be free. Morgan withdrew funding. Without money, the tower stood unfinished, a rusting skeleton of genius and idealism. In 1917, it was demolished for scrap. Tesla was devastated. The press mocked him as eccentric, a mad scientist lost in fantasy. But in private, he continued to work, claiming to have built devices that could split the Earth or transmit death rays across continents. The FBI would later label these Teleforce weapons. Some scientists called them myths. Others weren't so sure. Chapter 7. The Lonely Genius. By the 1920s, Tesla was a forgotten man. Edison died rich and revered. Westinghouse's empire grew, but Tesla, who had once held over 300 patents, lived in small hotel rooms, feeding pigeons and scribbling notes in isolation. He spoke little, ate little, and often walked for miles talking to himself. Yet even in old age, his mind remained sharp. He predicted wireless communication, global energy systems, even smartphones, devices that could fit in one's pocket and connect instantly across the globe. When journalists asked him about death, he smiled faintly. He said, "I have not failed. I have just postponed success to another time." Chapter 8. The Seizure. When Tesla died in 1943, within hours his room was sealed by the Office of Alien Property Custodian, despite Tesla being a U.S. citizen. All his trunks, notebooks, and papers, over 80 years of work, were confiscated. Among them were notes referencing dynamic gravity, free energy, and teleforce. The FBI brought in an electrical engineer to evaluate them, Dr. John G. Trump, uncle of future President Donald Trump. Dr. Trump concluded the material was theoretical, speculative, and impractical. But years later, even he admitted that Tesla's ideas deserved further study. Most of those papers vanished into classified archives. Some were rumored to be sent to Los Alamos during the early atomic research projects. Others were simply missing. Epilogue: the papers that never came back. In 2016, portions of Tesla's archived files were released under the Freedom of Information Act. Most contained known patents, but a few, poorly scanned, heavily redacted, referenced something labeled Project Star, linked to global transmission networks and high-energy resonance experiments. The final page was stamped in red, still classified. Historians debate whether those documents were genuine or the product of myth, but one thing is certain. Tesla's greatest inventions, the ones he believed could provide limitless, wireless energy to every human being on Earth, have never been found. Maybe they were destroyed, maybe they were hidden, or maybe, somewhere, someone still holds the key to the genius who wanted to give the world everything and was silenced for it. The man who captured lightning in his hands and died with only a pigeon at his window.